This is Nicholas Snow, and what can I say? You gotta vote.
Gotta get up.
Gotta get to class.
Gotta pay that tuition.
Gotta get a job.
Gotta move out.
Gotta make my own decisions. About my own health.
About my own life.
Gotta stay positive.
Gotta keep working.
Gotta keep believing.
That it's our country.
Our country.
It's our country too.
Gotta keep moving forward.
Not back.
Gotta keep hope. Gotta vote.
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 I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Visit www.gottavote.com. That's GOTTAVOTE. www.gottavote.com.
Hello and welcome to the SnowbizNow studios. I am your host, Nicholas Snow, and I'm so psyched to be back in the first week of my fall season. You know, this show didn't even exist until last summer, and in the month of August alone, I had over 360,000 listeners. So I want to just thank everyone all over the world for your support. One of my great privileges on the show is to introduce movers and shakers and really powerful, significant people who are making a difference, and this episode is no different. Now, on Friday, September 7th, I had the opportunity to interview Noah Michelson. He's the editor of Gay Voices at the Huffington Post. He received his MFA in poetry from New York University, and his poems have been featured in the New Republic, the Best American Erotic Poetry from 1800 to the Present, and other publications. Now, before joining the Huffington Post, Noah served as senior editor at Out magazine, and he has also contributed to Details and BlackBook. He served as a commentator for the BBC, and he is a regular guest, as many of my listeners know, on Sirius XM Radio and HuffPost Live. So don't go away. I'm going to be back with a fascinating conversation with Noah Michelson right after this.
That's HuffingtonPost.com in case you've been sleeping under a rock.
You thought it was simply raining men. Well, now it's actually snowing men and women and transgender folks as well. Although this storm originated in Hollywood, it has simply become too powerful for Tinseltown to contain. In fact, it's now a snowstorm of global proportions, engulfing people of all genders and sexual orientations, from all walks of life, in every country and throughout cyberspace. In the forecast, we have adventures in the world of travel and entertainment, news of current events, sexuality and politics, lifestyle, fitness and spirituality, personal empowerment, pop culture, and more. So grab your snowshoes or take shelter. If you want help with the drifting snow, grab a shovel and get ready to call, chat, or tweet, because a blizzard is inevitable. At the center of the snowstorm is one of the world's PromoHomos on the go-go, Mr. Nicholas Snow himself. His slogan, small screen, big queen, worldwide audience. You've heard it before. Now you'll hear it again. Over 6 feet of snow has hit the internet. Yes, as you anticipated, perhaps with great excitement, or with fear and trepidation, or maybe even with unadulterated joy. It's time for Snowbiz Now.
I'm always excited to be able to share news of upcoming events, but since the episodes of my program stay online forever, there might be a chance that the event I'm about to tell you about has already passed. So I want to invite you to also go to notesfromhollywood.com. And if you have an event you want to promote, you may sign up for free at notesfromhollywood.com and put your event in the events calendar, and I will perhaps promote it on the show. And if you want to know what event I personally am attending, go to SnowbizNow.com and look at the events section, because you'll always find the latest information about upcoming events in those areas. Coming up this week is the Cinema Diverse, the Palm Springs Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, which opens on Thursday, September 20th and runs through Sunday, September 23rd. Michael C. Green, the managing director of the Palm Springs Cultural Center, announced that they are screening 22 feature films this year, and he went on to say, "That's twice as many as last year and more than we've ever screened in a single year. In addition, we're screening 38 short films, some as lead-ins to the feature screenings and others grouped into short selections. I will be on the scene recording interviews for this radio program, and I encourage you to go find out everything you want to about this year's Cinema Diverse. Go to cinemadiverse.ning.com. That's cinemadiverse.ning.com. You'll be glad you did. And if you happen to have heard this announcement after the event, it is an annual event. So check out that website for next year's event. And now I want to present to you news of the Desert AIDS Walk. I am a client of the Desert AIDS Project, and I'm very honored to support anything the Desert AIDS Project is up to. And I want to let you know that I will be broadcasting live this year from the Desert AIDS Walk. You can find out about everything the Desert AIDS Project is doing by going to desertaidsproject.org. So here's news of the upcoming Desert AIDS Walk, and I'll be back with my interview with Noah Michelson.
Join Desert AIDS Project for our biggest walk ever, the 25th Anniversary Palm Springs AIDS Walk, presented by the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians. This year we are honored as the recipient of the inaugural Spirit of Stonewall Advocate of the Year Award. Register online today at desertaidsproject.org and walk away with a cool Keith Haring-inspired t-shirt. The 2012 Palm Springs AIDS Walk kicks off Sunday, November 4th. Registration opens at 7:30 a.m. Come out and walk, show DAP the love.
New designer furnishings, sparkling cocktail rings, vintage jeans and shirts for moms, teens, boys, and flirts. Area rugs and stylish bedding design your wedding. Shiny knickknacks and glam Hollywood throwbacks. You'll find it here at Revivals. Voted Best of the Valley thrift stores. Now with even more new treasures, plus one-of-a-kind consignment and estate items. Fashion, accessories, furniture, it's all in store at Revivals. Find it here. Visit us at revivalstores.com to find a Revivals store near you.
While we're on the topic of revivals, I want to just tell you that there's a Revival store in San Diego, California, and there are many Revival stores in the greater Palm Springs area. The store in San Diego also generates revenue that is given to the local community, so kudos to the Desert AIDS Project for their support of the agencies in San Diego. Revivals does generate money that goes directly to the fight against HIV and AIDS, and I thought I would just wander around my apartment and talk about 3 different items that I can see from where I'm standing that I got at Revivals. I have a fantastic contemporary lamp with a very nice shade, and I don't remember the exact price, but it was less than $10, and I got an extra 25% off because I am a volunteer with the Desert AIDS Project. I have this fantastic Mr. Coffee coffee maker. It's a very nice black, and with my 25% volunteer discount, I paid $4.50 for it. And I have this fantastic Oster toaster, and it actually is you can put 4 pieces of toast in it, and there's a bagel setting, there's a button to press if you're putting in frozen bread, and it has a very contemporary design. Well, I say contemporary, it actually is very deco. It looks like an Airstream trailer. I was so impressed when I bought it that I looked it up online, and they had them brand new at Walmart for about $45, and I paid, I believe, $6 for my toaster. Revivals is cool. And now it's time to check in with Tony Marchese at Trio Restaurant. where Palm Springs eats.
We have guests that come here every week and just sit at the bar because they meet new people all the time. Every week someone tells us they met someone new at Trio and then they come back with them the next week after. So that's the kind of place you want to be. Is when you feel at home, you're happy. Mark and I are from the Midwest, so when we opened Trio, we wanted to bring that Midwest feeling here to California. Our pot roast is our #1 seller. Our soul is unbelievable. So we're affordable. We have a great staff. You're always welcome.
For a video all about Trio, go to SnowbizNow.com and click on the video tab in the sub-menu, or check out TrioPalmSprings.com.
How many times have you been on vacation with naked men swimming and sunbathing and very much enjoying one another's company? This is a common experience in Palm Springs, California, where one of the most popular gay men's clothing optional resorts is the Warm Sands Villas, conveniently located near the airport, restaurants, and nightlife. Guests may choose from a variety of room types and enjoy 24-hour access to the pool, hot tub, and roof deck with an unobstructed view of stunning mountains and the surrounding area. For more information, check out warmsandsvillas.com. To view a 20-minute documentary about the Warm Sands Villas, check out the videos at snowbiznow.com.
I am so excited because now, just by being a listener of Snowbiz Now, you get to save money at some of the best establishments around the world. For coupons and special offers exclusively for Snowbiz Now listeners, go to snowbiznow.com and click on the Coupons Special Offers tab in the main menu. You'll be glad you did. If you would like to make a special offer to Snowbiz Now listeners, get in touch with me. To do that, go to snowbiznow.com and click on the contact link in the submenu. I am so excited! Did I sound like Oprah?
And as promised, joining me in the Snowbiz Now studios from New York City is Noah Michelson, the editor of Gay Voices at the Huffington Post. Welcome to the show, Noah.
Thanks. How are you, Nicholas?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad we're doing this. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my great pleasure. You know, as a gay man, as a journalist, as someone in the media, and as a self-described liberal, I'm a huge fan of yours and the Huffington Post.
That's very sweet. Thank you.
My pleasure. I guess before we get into the fascinating life you're living, I want to ask, did you ever think that you would be in such a pivotal position relevant to what's going on in the world? Because let's face it, as the editor of Gay Voices at the Huffington Post, you have a lot of influence.
I do, and it's an exciting position to have, and it's a very gratifying position to have. And no, I actually never thought that this would be something that I'd be doing. As you mentioned earlier, my background is actually in poetry. And so up until about 5 years ago, I was not a journalist. I was a professional poet, as professional as a poet can be. And I was thinking I was going to become a professor, and I would just write my poetry and teach my classes. And, so no, I had no idea that this is where I would end up, which is kind of what I think is exciting about life in general, is that you don't know from one year to the next what's going to happen. But here I am.
Well, congratulations. Now, were you born and raised in New York?
I was not. I was born in a small town in Wisconsin called Racine, Wisconsin. It's most famous for Johnson's Wax, which makes Raid, Roach Killer, and Windex. That's kind of like our claim to fame. So I grew up in Wisconsin, and then I went to school in St. Paul at Macalester College, which is a small, very, very liberal college that's located right in the Twin Cities there.
Well, hopefully Wisconsin will not add to its claim to fame as a vice president.
Oh, I know. It's so kind of disheartening to me what's been going on actually in Wisconsin, just with the governor and we were actually had a pretty liberal sort of atmosphere for a really long time, but the tide seemed to be turning. So I'm hoping that we'll get back into shape.
Well, it's really scary. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, this interview is being recorded on Friday, September 7th. It's the morning after the Democratic National Convention has concluded, so both conventions are behind us.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how you're feeling having them both behind us. Are you optimistic about? I mean, I'm assuming you're a Democrat and you want Obama to win. So let's.
But personally, professionally, I don't really have a position. We kind of stay away from promoting either way. But personally, yes, I am very liberal, and I do hope that Obama wins. I think Obama has really, he's done a lot for the LGBT community. Obviously, there's room to improve and there's room to grow, but I think when we look at what's happening in the other direction and with the other party, he's just miles ahead of any other candidate. And I'm hoping he gets another 4 years, and I'm terrified at the prospect of what could happen if he doesn't.
You make a good point in the distinction between your professional and your personal role. And clearly, people in the media, they want to, in the function of their job, be objective.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting the way that there are media that are identified as liberal media versus conservative media, and people project all this bias. For example, I have people feel like MSNBC is liberal media, and probably a lot of the personalities on MSNBC are members of the Democratic Party. But in my opinion, they source their stories. They always back up their what they're reporting with solid journalism. So how do you think the media gets put in these boxes when they're simply reporting the facts?
That's a really good question, and I think that the Huffington Post gets slammed with that a lot too. That we're sort of a vehicle for the liberal or the left, part of this country, and as far as Gay Voices goes, like I said, we don't have one particular affiliation. We welcome all voices. That's kind of the point of Gay Voices, is that everyone has a platform to sound off. But at the same time, like you were saying, there are kind of some things that are just facts or truths. And so we do come at a lot of the issues from a pro-LGBT standpoint. And so when we're talking about issues like marriage equality or securing rights in terms of adoption or workplace rights, we're going to come at that from the point of view that we think that LGBT people should have all the same rights as everyone else. And so is that a liberal kind of standpoint? I guess conservative or right-wing people would say it is, but we are a pro-LGBT section and a LGBT site, and that's just where we're going to come at it from.
Now, I think that you reported on this story, and whether or not you did, I'm sure you're aware of it, but there was an independent survey done of members of the LGBT community about how they would vote if the Republicans had the same stance on LGBT civil rights as the Democrats. And from what I understand, 20% of those surveyed said that they could vote for Republican if that was the case.
Right. We did report on that. I think that's really interesting. I mean, I think it speaks to the fact that 20% is obviously a large number, but also 80% is also an even larger number. And so while, personally, I think that the Democrats are much stronger on LGBT rights, obviously, there are still a lot of issues that I think that queer people take to heart and support that the Republican Party also does not support. And so, when you're talking about anything from education to immigration to abortion rights, I think a lot of times you're going to find that LGBT people are going to still fall on the liberal side of those issues. And so, you're still going to find LGBT people supporting Democratic platforms and candidates just because they're more in line with where they're coming from. But obviously there are a lot of Republican LGBT people out there. There's many groups, the Log Cabin Republicans, Go Proud, who are trying to make themselves known. And so that's the interesting thing about the LGBT community in general, is that we're made up of so many different people. Yes, we all have a sexual identity or a gender identity in common, but other than that, it's kind of, anyone's guess as to where we fall. So we're all different races, we're all different ethnicities, we're all different, working class and upper class and middle class. So it's hard to lump us all in one category, and that's another reason that I think Gay Voices is important, because we're trying to give everyone the opportunity to say where they're coming from. So yeah, you might be a lesbian, but you also might be black, or you might be, Muslim. So it's hard to really say that the community falls into any one category on anything.
Before we get more into the meat and potatoes of Gay Voices, tell me about your transition from poetry to journalism, more specifically.
Sure, yeah. So when I graduated from grad school, I realized that teaching was going to be a lot harder than I thought. It's a very competitive industry, and a lot of times you end up having to move to, somewhere like Kansas and teach there for a while. You can't stay in a city like New York, and I'd fallen in love with New York after coming here for grad school. So I thought, well, what can I do to pay the rent? Because I have to pay the rent. And I actually got a job at Out Magazine where I was an intern, an unpaid intern. And it was a bit, I always tell people, it was kind of humbling to be going to become an unpaid intern at the age of 29, where all the other interns, were 21 or 19, and here I am with a master's, and I'm an intern, and I'm not getting paid for it. But I think the thing that really worked out in my favor is that I was really hungry for the opportunity, and so I worked incredibly hard. And I started off working 2 days a week, and after about 3 months, I was working 5 days a week, and then I was doing party promotion and events at night to pay the rent. And so I really just fell in love with getting to do that kind of journalism. And so my background was really in pop culture. I was really interested in, interviewed a lot of celebrities, and then just people kind of quit or moved on to a new job at the right time, and I just kept moving up the ladder, so to speak. And, to Out Magazine's credit, they really gave me a lot of opportunities, and they let me write about what I wanted to write about, and they really taught me so much. And so, by the end of my 4th year, I was running all of their digital properties. So they have a couple different blogs, and they have a website. And then I was also writing features and cover stories for the magazine, and really just loving it. It kind of just clicked the minute I stepped through the door there.
Had Out Magazine become part of Here Media at the time you became involved?
That was just happening right when I got there. So prior to that, they were not, and then the transition happened very soon after I got there.
Well, you and I have mutual friends, because some of my oldest and dearest friends are Fabrice Descendo and Matt Scalaru.
Ah, that's great. I didn't know that. Yeah, no, great guys.
Yes, we go back we go back a long time, and they're just some of my heroes. So I know you probably worked with Fabrice closely while he was with that company.
Yeah, I did. Fabrice was great. And there's so many. I have to say that Out Magazine I probably will never have a job like that again, in that it was almost like a family. I mean, the people that I came to know and work with, I still see them on a regular basis. I just went to a wedding last weekend of the managing editor who used to be there. So these are people that it was just an incredible opportunity, both professionally and also personally. The things that I gained from it were just amazing.
I'm guessing this was a gay wedding legally recognized in New York?
It actually was a straight wedding, but there were a lot of gay people there. That was the other great thing about Out Magazine, is that, it was a lot of gay men, but we also had some straight people, and I think, in general, we're not going to get anywhere without our allies, and sometimes our allies actually even have more of an influence because they are part of the mainstream. So, it was a straight wedding, but it was beautiful.
For so long we have known that our allies are the the power brokers when it comes to the transformation of our civil rights.
Yeah, definitely. And well, I mean, the other thing, too, I was going to say about that, too, is just bringing it back to Gay Voices, the fact that we are positioned on a mainstream website that is not a gay website really gives us a lot more leverage, and a lot more people see our content. So that's one of the other exciting things about this site having launched, is that we are able to reach a lot more people than a website that might just be purely LGBT.
So I suppose that while as a community we're really grateful for the existence of Gay Voices, that companies like Out and the Advocate and gay media are probably a little bit disappointed because they're losing a piece of their pie in a way.
Yeah, that was something actually before we launched. So we launched, it'll be a year in October that we launched. And people found out that we were going to be launching about a year ago now, and that was something I heard a lot about, is that people were angry or worried that having a site like Gay Voices positioned on the Huffington Post was going to take away all their traffic. I don't think that's the case. I think what actually ended up happening is that, we really look to a lot of those other sites as, if not partners, as people who we engage with and that we like to also send our readers to as well. And so I think there's a lot of room for everyone. And also the other thing, too, is that we can only cover so much news, and because we're a very national and international website, we aren't going to get everything. So sites like Toll Road or sites like The Advocate or, Queerty are maybe going to have some stories that we don't have. So I still think that there's definitely an audience for them, and they all do great work, and we get a lot of our stories from them. So I don't think that happened, and I understand that fear, but I think that I think we're all kind of okay at this point.
So tell me how you ended up working for Huffington Post.
Mm-hmm. So actually my old boss at Out, who had my job before he moved on to AOL, he called me up last, I guess it was a year ago, June, and he said to me, the Huffington Post is thinking about starting a LGBT vertical. We call each section on the site a vertical. And he said, I really think that you should come in and talk to them about it. And, at the time I had just been promoted to senior editor, and I had just done, cover story on Britney Spears, and I was really actually very happy with what I was doing at Out in many ways, frustrated in some other ways, but I was not looking for a new job at all. So I said, it's not going to hurt to go in and chat with them, and I came in and I chatted, and they presented me with such an incredible opportunity to really not only edit this section, but to really build it from the ground up and sort of design it the way that I wanted it to be built. So I just figured there's no way that I could turn that down. And the Huffington Post has been doing and is doing such incredible work. And I really, when I sort of wrote down all my pros and cons about leaving Out, the pros were just so much greater, and the opportunities that I've been given since then have been amazing. So very grateful to be here and really excited about what we're able to do every day.
Well, when we come back, we'll talk more about the first year of Huffington Post Gay Voices. So everybody stay tuned for more fascinating information from Noah. We'll be back after this.
Are you captivated and wondering just what is next? Well, you should be. The score you're listening to is by award-winning producer, arranger, composer, and musician, Bruno Brugnano. Bruno has recorded and performed with leading musicians worldwide and has produced over 100 albums. Leading and respected directors and producers from throughout the world have entrusted Bruno to compose riveting and compelling scores for their film and television projects. For more information, visit www.brugnanobruno.webs.com. That's www.brugnanobruno.webs.com. Don't even consider making a movie without Bruno Brugnano. Seeking an adventure of a lifetime? Thailand awaits you with world-class resorts and spas, breathtaking beaches, beautiful Buddhist temples, and Bangkok, complete with SkyTrains, subways, and ultra-modern shopping malls. Leave home as a man and return as a woman if that's who you truly are. After all, many of Thailand's private hospitals are world leaders in sexual reassignment surgery. Start your adventure at facebook.com/visit Thailand. One of the world's finest Italian restaurants is actually in a suburb of Bangkok, Thailand. Oregano Pizza and Pasta. A bit of a trek by taxi from the central business district, but oh, so worth it. Preparing secret recipes passed down for generations, chefs have decades of experience using only the finest imported ingredients. Oregano, spelled with an I. Google Oregano Pizza and Pasta Bangkok. You'll be glad you did. Can't get enough of Hollywood? Are you bursting with news and gossip of your own? You are cordially invited to join our free social network at notesfromhollywood.com, home of the paparazzi prison. Sign up for free now. Publicize your events. Share your blogs, photos, and dreams. We report and celebrate worldwide adventures in travel and entertainment. Isn't it time to honor your inner movie star? Do so now at notesfromhollywood.com. You're listening to SnowbizNow with Nicholas Snow.
Small screen,
Big Queen, worldwide audience. It's not radio. It's Gadio.
Okay, we're back with Noah Michelson, and congratulations on your upcoming one-year anniversary for Gay Voices at the Huffington Post.
Thank you.
You know, a lot of people, I think, have become aware of the Huffington Post because of the way it's integrated with other media, other social networks, especially Facebook. So there might be people that have never actually gone to HuffingtonPost.com and seen the main page, but have instead simply gone to story after story after story. So why don't you tell us how the Huffington Post is structured as a company, to the extent that you can, where your offices are located, what your staff is like, et cetera.
Yeah, of course. So the Huffington Post, I think the great thing about the Huffington Post is that it's really smart about the way that we offer people information and content. So that, you know, we have a main page that kind of has some of the biggest stories that are going on in every single sort of section of the world, and meaning, you know, so we have politics, we have entertainment, we have celebrity, and then we have things like gay voices or black voices or Latino voices. And so once you click on a story, then you go to the story, but you're also taken to these sort of subsections of the site where all of these other stories live. So there's something for everyone on the site, which is sort of what I love about it. And it's set up that, you know, you can click around really easily, and if one story doesn't appeal to you, you can kind of jump to the next story. And especially, you know, particularly for Gay Voices, when I designed the site, I really wanted it to be a snapshot of the LGBT community at any moment. So if you went to the page, you're going to get the stories that are really kind of the top stories that are going on in the world right now for queer people. And, you know, that means like really kind of more newsy things like, you know, the Democratic National Convention or the speeches that happened last night. But it also means some fluffier stuff, too, because I think that, you know, people really want to be sort of well-rounded when they're getting their information. And I love a story about Lady Gaga or, you know, Madonna or things like that. So I really want it to be a mix of everything that's going on in the world at that time. Our offices are in New York, but we also have offices around the country and actually around the world. We're now have Huffington Post UK. There's one in France, Italy. I know that Spain has one. You know, we're just going to kind of keep expanding. And then different sections around the country, too. So we're in D.C., we're in L.A., we're in San Francisco, Chicago, Miami, Detroit even. So kind of able to really offer people both a big picture of what's going on in the world, but also very sort of dialed in, tuned in approaches to news and entertainment and sports and everything at the same time.
So when you, how did Out Magazine respond when you told them you were leaving?
They weren't happy, and I think part of that was the fact that, you know, we were such a family and we had been having such a good time together. But I think they understood it too. I you know, Aaron Hicklin, who is the editor-in-chief of Out Magazine, and I've learned so much from him. I think he really understood that this was the kind of opportunity that I really couldn't pass up, and so he gave me his blessing, and I still actually work with Out. They send me their stories, and we write them up and promote them on the site. So I don't think there's any love lost there, but you know, a little bittersweet, definitely.
And when was your first day at Huffington Post?
It was actually a year ago this past Tuesday. So the day after Labor Day, I started at Huffington Post, and I spent my first month here really just sort of getting everything in line, reaching out to bloggers, reaching out to writers, and letting them know that this was going to be happening, and trying to get people really kind of amped about it and excited about it. And that first month was nuts. I mean, I was working probably 14 hours a day because I didn't have a team yet. Now I have a team of people that work with me. I have an amazing associate editor, Curtis Wong. He does most of our aggregated content. And we have a reporter. We have editor-at-large who is Michelangelo Signorelli, who is, a lot of people know. He has a radio show, and he's been a journalist and activist for the last 30 years. You know, so we've got a whole team now in place, but that first month it was just me. So it was really, really kind of overwhelming, and you know, you add to that all of everyone's expectations and a lot of people hoping that we would fail, and I think that I would not want to really relive that first month if I don't ever have to. I'm fine with that.
I'm sure. Now, did you have a soft launch of Gay Voices, or was there a major PR effort behind it?
Yeah, we had a soft launch, but it was only 5 days before. So we soft launched on September 28th, and then our official launch was October 3rd. So that was just to kind of get the bugs out and make sure that everything was ready to go. But then October 3rd was the big day, and we launched with an interview with Lady Gaga, and we just had some really incredible content right out of the gate. And I think people were kind of not sure what to expect, but quickly, you know, after our first month online, we were already the #1 ranked LGBT website on the internet, and we've held on to that ranking since October of last year. So people were really excited about it.
Do you divulge your traffic?
We not specifics, but you know, I can say that we have upwards of 3 million unique visitors a month. So, but beyond traffic, you know, the thing that really gets us excited is #1 growth, and we've seen incredible growth since we launched, but also engagement. We have an incredible community of not only people who blog for us, but also people who comment. And, you know, if you look at any of the stories, there are hundreds and sometimes thousands of comments on stories and blogs. And so, and also if you look on Facebook and people on Twitter, our readers are really engaged and are really excited to be having conversations about the topics. So I think that that's the thing that thrills me the most about the site.
And are you the person that did the interview with Lady Gaga for your launch?
I was. I've actually interviewed her several times. My first time was for Out Magazine. We did her on the cover, and since then I've spoken with her several times. She's always a good interview, as you can imagine, and yeah, it was exciting. We talked about you know, some political stuff and things like that, and hoping that we'll do more with her as she starts to get ready for her next album. Who are in the last year some of the celebrities you've interviewed that have left a lasting impression on you, and why? Yeah, you know, the hard part about this job is that I am so busy just editing that I don't get to do a ton of interviews anymore, and I'm trying to change that because I really enjoy that. But you know who the person that really stands out for me, and I think a lot of people will be surprised by this, is Chris Crocker, who a lot of people will know from his YouTube video. He made the video where he was telling people to leave Britney alone, and that went viral on YouTube. And he just got he was just the star of a documentary about his life that was on HBO. called Me at the Zoo, and it's about how he sort of exploded and his fame and what's come along with that. So I interviewed him about that right before he went to Sundance, and I think a lot of people dismiss him as kind of being this flash in the pan and being sort of trashy, but he gave me one of the most intelligent interviews that anyone has ever given me. He is steeped in queer theory. He understands things, I feel like, innately that a lot of people have to study for years to understand. And so that interview, it was not only professionally, I really enjoyed it, but personally, it was kind of one of those moments where I said, I really sometimes need to take a step back and not judge people based on things that I don't understand and wait until I get their side of the story. And I think that's a great lesson for any journalist or any person to learn, is that there are so many things that go into making up a person and to making up a story, and until you talk to them and you sort of find out what their journey has been like, you don't really know the whole story. So I love talking to Chris, and he's a total sweetheart, and I think he's brilliant.
When you started out with the Huffington Post, creating Gay Voices, you had, I'm sure, a vision. What has held true to your vision, and what has evolved in a way that surprises you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Part of my vision really was I wanted to embrace what the Huffington Post is about, and like I was saying earlier, and that's really about community and engagement. And so I really wanted to have the site featuring as many people as possible, and whether that means that they'd be a blogger for us, or that means that they would be talking back in the comment section, or if just, writing me personally and trying to help shape the way that we did things and saying, oh, did you hear about this story? You should really cover this. I wanted all those people to be involved. And I think, the thing that's excited me is that not only is that continued to be the case, but we also have, we started doing a lot more sort of user-generated content, which means, a couple times a week now we'll do something like a Twitter talkback where we'll ask our Twitter followers a question. So something like last week we asked them about Ann Romney's speech and where she talked about how she had a real marriage. And we said, what do you guys think? Do you think that she was kind of taking a jab at marriage equality, or was that just, are we being too sensitive? And, we get this great conversation happening, and then we feature that in a slideshow and let people see what our readers have been talking about. And we're doing more and more of that. So that's exciting to me, and I want to see even more integration with our readers and having them talk even more. I think the thing that I didn't realize was going to be a large part of what we're doing, and this is something I spoke to earlier, is that I think I underestimated how diverse our readers were going to be and how many different opinions people were going to have. And I have to say that we get a lot of pushback and a lot of angry letters and things like that, with people saying, how could you cover this? Why are you doing this? Why did you approach this in this way? And I guess I didn't expect people to be quite so vocal in their opposition to things that we did. And so I think that's what surprised me the most, is just that people, I think that LGBT people we've put up with so much for so long, and we're so used to being disenfranchised that we're kind of cranky. And so, I think we're getting to a point where we're not afraid to sort of speak out now about that, especially if we're talking to other queer people. And so, I love getting mail from readers, and I love when they tell me, constructive criticism, and I welcome that. But I don't think I realized how much of it we were going to get.
Okay. Well, when we come back, I want to talk about the Hollywood closet, the celebrity closet, your take on Anderson Cooper and others.
Okay.
So, don't go away.
SnowbizNow is a listener and advertiser-supported program. If you believe in the value and importance of this program, we invite you to join Team SnowbizNow today. One option is to subscribe to SnowbizNow.com. Not only will you receive our newsletter, you'll be entitled to add your own content to the website. Another option is to make an annual financial contribution toward the production of the show. If you do, we'll acknowledge you on the air throughout the year as an executive producer. Finally, if you want our growing worldwide audience to know about your business, advertise with us. For more information about all these options, simply visit SnowbizNow.com and click on the Team SnowbizNow link in the main menu. Join Team SnowbizNow today. Thank you in advance for your fantastic support.
I want to thank you for listening to SnowbizNow. I would lose my title of PromoHomo if I didn't once in a while let you know that if you're interested in my services as an actor, as a master of ceremonies, as a voiceover artist, if you want me to appear in your movie or your TV program or help support your event, or if you want me to do a live performance of my HIV testing safer sex awareness song, The Power to Be Strong, let me know. Visit SnowbizNow.com, where you'll find my contact information, and for the specific information about my acting, including clips of past performances, hover over the About item in the main submenu. Just hover over the About item in the main submenu. Now, on with the show.
You're listening to Snowbiz Now with Nicholas Snow. Small screen, big queen, worldwide audience. It's not radio, it's Gadio.
And we're back with Noah Michelson. I'm so excited to be having this conversation with you. Let's take Anderson Cooper as an example and talk about the glass closet. Here's a situation where for so long, at least almost everyone I knew was aware that Anderson Cooper is gay. And I'm sure if you talk to someone like Michelangelo Signorelli, he's going to talk about the fact that silence equals death for closeted celebrities. And I'm wondering, at what point, let me frame it this way. You have media that will cover the love lives of heterosexual people all the time. And you have those same media choose not to cover the same information about LGBT celebrities. Isn't that weird? Isn't that media choosing not to tell a story? Why is that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Our official stance at the Huffington Post Gay Voices in terms of the glass closet, as it were, is that we do not out people. We're not in the business of outing people, and that's from a professional. That's what I'm saying professionally. I'm not interested in sort of going public with information about someone's life if they're not out, because that is their decision ultimately. As much as I might hate that or bemoan that or wish that they had the strength or the conviction or whatever it would take for them to come out, they aren't out, and there's nothing I can do about that, and so I respect that. But, like you said, there are a lot of people who live lives that are gay or queer lives, and a lot of people know about it. And, so before Anderson Cooper came out of the closet, we still featured a lot of articles about him on our site. And, that happened for two reasons. One, because most of us did know that he was gay. And two, because even if he wasn't gay, he's still a gay icon, and it's still something that gay people are interested in. So, Anderson has been on our site since we launched, and I'm very happy. And it feels weird and patronizing to say I'm proud of him for coming out, but I am proud of him for coming out because it's a big step for anyone, whether you're a celebrity or not. And it excites me, and I think that it's sort of the domino effect. And, the summer has been really good for people coming out. Earlier this spring, we had Jim Parsons from The Big Bang Theory, who came out in a New York Times interview, very kind of nonchalantly, and then we had Anderson Cooper, and then we had Frank Ocean, the R&B star. So I'm really hoping this is kind of going to be the momentum we need to just get people to sort of say, this doesn't have to be a big deal, and this doesn't have to kill my career, and hopefully we'll get more people coming out. But, that's one of the things that we hear the most actually from readers too, is when we do a story about someone coming out, I get so many people who say to me, why are you reporting on this? Why is this a story? It shouldn't matter. And I say, you're right. In an ideal world, I would love to say that someone coming out as LGBT doesn't matter, but in the world that we live in, it really does matter. And visibility is hugely important to our movement, hugely important to our queer youth, and hugely important to shaping the way that people think about who LGBT people are and what we do. And so we're not in a post-gay world. We're not in a place where it doesn't matter when someone comes out. And so we cover those stories all the time, and we think they're important.
I want to revisit something you said. You know, it's like you have a policy of not outing people.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, do you have a policy of getting permission from heterosexual celebrities when reporting facts that would confirm they're heterosexual?
No, I guess when it comes to, I think the thing about outing someone is usually the way that outing works is that someone sends you a tip or says, I have this information about someone. It's not that easy to actually out someone in terms of facts and figures and that kind of thing. I mean, it's a lot of times someone's word. You know, a good example is John Travolta right now. So we are covering these stories about John Travolta, who is dealing with numerous lawsuits right now from men who allege that he sexually harassed them. A lot of them have been masseurs. And we just did a story last week about a man who used to be his pilot who claims that they were in a 6-year relationship. So are we saying that John Travolta is gay? No, we're not. We're not even saying he's bisexual. We're saying that these are what people are saying. These are the lawsuits that are happening. And we're leaving it up to our readers to decide what's going on with that. But, you know, it would be very difficult for us to sort of come out and prove that John Travolta is gay or bisexual. And also, you know, it gets to be litigious at the same time, and there's a lot of things that go into the way that you have to report those kind of stories.
Let me give a different example, and I'm not going to belabor this, but all right, let's just go back a few months when Anderson is not out, all right?
Yeah.
And let's say Anderson goes to an event with the person that is known to be his boyfriend, and Rosie O'Donnell goes to the same event with someone that is publicly known to be her romantic partner.
Yeah.
The media will tell everything about Rosie's experience of that event, but they will not tell everything about Anderson Cooper's experience at that event, and so they're choosing not to report what is there, which is different from choosing to out someone. I see them as different issues. It seems to me that there's this huge omission in reporting. When you look at what drives entertainment media, when you look at what drives celebrity, when you look at the sorts of information that celebrities use about their own lives to build their careers, it just seems like this sin of omission in a way, which I think is different from outing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I mean, I think if someone is going to an event with a partner with them, I mean, that's pretty much what happened with Matt Bomer. And that's actually how Matt Bomer was outed for all intents and purposes, is that last fall he went to an event with his husband, and he thanked his husband in a speech. And so what happened then is that people were able to then report on that. I think before you have some kind of clear-cut example of what defines someone as being gay or part of the community, whether it's being seen with a partner or some other indication, it's difficult then to sort of put that out there, and it's a lot of hearsay. And again, that can be really difficult for a news organization in terms of being afraid of being sued, or, you know, the kind of trouble that can come from lawyers and PR people and that kind of thing. And so, no, I think you're right. I think that if someone's out with a partner and they're going to public events, then that should be reported on as well. But I think that when it's a little bit blurrier and not as clear, there are some reasons why I can see the media not covering that.
Okay. Well stated. Tell me about Huffington Post Live.
Yeah, that just launched on the 13th of August, and it is a new live web streaming network. So it runs for 12 hours a day, 5 days a week right now, And basically, the cool thing about it is, so it's kind of like a news channel, but it doesn't break news. It's not like CNN or MSNBC or Fox in that they're covering, breaking news as it happens. Instead, what they're doing is they're having a conversation about that news. So they pull in community members, so whether that is readers or that is bloggers or that might be celebrities or it might be Huffington Post editors, and they pull them into a chat and they have, a 10 or 20-minute chat about a story that's on the site. So it's kind of this symbiotic relationship between the Huffington Post and the Huffington Post Live, because they take our stories and then they have these really sort of thoughtful chats about them with all kinds of different people, and then we take those videos and we put them back on our site. So they're feeding us. We're feeding them, and it's been really kind of incredible to see. It's sort of giving new life to a story and taking it just off the page and getting people to talk about it in real time.
In the 90s, for 6 years, I produced a public access TV show in L.A. called Tinseltown's Queer. And that's when I started to work with Matt and Fabrice, who had created GayWired.com. And we started integrating, I would bring them into the live television studio, and we would start interacting with people chatting with them on a computer, and we really started integrating elements like this in the 90s. And I would say at that time, and have said ever since, that the Internet is allowing us to jump homophobic Hollywood gridlock and go directly to a global audience that wants and needs content for and about their lives.
Totally. I would totally agree with that.
And in this day and age, a year ago, I came back from having lived in Thailand for 5.5 years, and I was in a series of temporary living situations. And now in my new place, I do not own a television and I do not have cable. I'm consuming all of my media using a Verizon Fios internet connection. It's all about video streaming, and I'm often watching a video on my computer while, like, for example, I watched both conventions on the computer while consistently interacting with people on Facebook and Twitter about what I was seeing. We are participating in a global conversation that no longer needs broadcast.
Yeah. And the other thing, like you just mentioned, too, the exciting thing about it is that not only can you get all your content from the Internet, but you can also react and interact and live with what's going on. And so that's part of what's going on with Huffington Post Live too, is that you can tweet content that's happening. You can be part of the conversation. There's an entire scrolling section for comments, and the hosts of the segments are reading those comments and asking the commentators about what people are commenting on live while it's happening. And so the opportunity for interaction and engagement is just all of a sudden possible for everyone, which you don't have when you watch TV. When you're watching TV, you are not part of that equation.
I agree, and I'm wondering, are we going to? What do you think the future of broadcast media is?
I think that people don't know, and I think that's the same thing for print media. People keep saying, "Are we going to have magazines in 3, 5, 8, 10 years?" And I can't answer that. That's something that we wondered about when I was at Out. And I don't know where we're headed, but it seems like we're headed in a direction where the Internet is king, and people, everyday people, are starting to become more and more part of that conversation and more necessary to that equation. So I think it's really exciting, and I think part of the fact that we don't know where we're headed is also exciting, and I think people are just sort of riding the wave.
Well, I've been an out media activist for decades, and as you know, I recently started this program, and I'm known in the gay media world, so it's not like I was starting from scratch, but I'm completely astounded that in August I had 360,000 listeners.
Yeah.
I'm astounded by that, and I'm wondering what kind of content gets the most activity on Gay Voices? Is it content that includes audio? Is it content that includes video? Are you finding that short stories versus long stories are read What are you learning?
Yeah, well, let me first just say that I think it's amazing that you've had so many people listening. And I also think it speaks to the fact, something else that we heard when we were starting Gay Voices is some people said, why do you need a special section just for gay voices? Isn't the Huffington Post already covering a lot of these stories? And isn't that kind of segregating yourselves from the rest of the world? And my answer to that, and I think it speaks to what you were just talking about with how many people are listening to you and the real kind of hunger for that, is that even though we are getting more and more integrated into the mainstream, we're not there yet. And so people are still looking for a place or a home where they can go to get information that's just about the LGBT community. And I don't think that that's going to change for a while until we really are truly integrated. And even then, there's always going to be sort of this need for an enclave and for people who are speaking directly to us and about us. So I think that's really exciting that you're having that kind of a reaction. And for Gay Voices, the same thing. And stories that do the best for us, I always put them in two different camps. I always say, on the one hand, stories that are about really despicable, really horrible things. So you have, your people like Brian Fisher or Pat Robertson saying horrible things about queer people, or you have things like, this high school football team that their followers last week were flashing this homophobic sign against the other school, things like that. People really get riled up about that, and those do really well on the site. And then on the other side of the coin, the other thing that does really well are things that are inspirational or feel good. So, we have a story going up in a few minutes about how Mary J. Blige just came out in support of gay marriage and marriage equality. And so stories like that do really well as well, because people are excited when people are doing good things in the community or for the community. So those are kind of the two topics. And then in terms of more format, we love a slideshow. We love to run a slideshow, and I think our readers really like that too. We love to do multimedia, so we do, videos and audio clips and photos and things like that, kind of trying to deliver people the news in as many different formats and in as many different ways as possible, and so that people are really sort of inspired by the stories or what we're offering them.
I just want our listeners to know that when they go to HuffingtonPost.com, Gay Voices is linked predominantly in the main sub-menu, but also we were talking about Huffington Post Live, and I'm not going to go to it now because I don't want the audio to start playing during my interview with you, but if you hover over it, you get to see what's on now, what's on next, and what's coming up. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's great for people that are always, connecting with their wireless device and wanting to stay in the loop and stay informed. When I come back with Noah for the final stretch of our interview, we're going to break down the current front page of Huffington Post, and I want to learn more about your poetry, Noah. So will you share some information about that? Okay, I'll be back with Noah Michelson right after this.
This is Nicholas Snow, and what can I say? You gotta vote.
Gotta get up.
Gotta get to class.
Gotta pay that tuition.
Gotta get a job.
Gotta move out.
Gotta make my own decisions. About my own health.
About my own life.
Gotta stay positive.
Gotta keep working.
Gotta keep believing.
That it's our country.
Our country.
It's our country too.
Gotta keep moving forward.
Not back.
Gotta keep hope. Gotta vote.
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 I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Visit www.gottavote.com. That's GOTTAVOTE. www.gottavote.com.
You're listening to SnowbizNow with Nicholas Snow.
Small screen,
Big Queen. Worldwide audience. It's not radio. It's Gadio.
And I'm back. Now, I'm in California, and Noah's in New York, but that is modern technology for you. I mentioned this interview is being recorded on September 7th, 2012. It's serendipitous that this is your one-year anniversary with Huffington Post, and we're leading into the one-year anniversary of Gay Voices. On your on your front page right now, I haven't refreshed it, but before I got on the phone with you, your lead story was 20 LGBT celebrities who have contributed to political campaigns. So,
yeah.
I take it you're fairly intimately involved with the story. Are you surprised about which people are supportive of campaigns, and are there any openly gay Republican celebrities?
You know, I'm sure there are. This slideshow that we did was actually part of a series that the Huffington Post was doing called Our Shadow Conventions. And basically what happened is that Ariana Huffington, who started the Huffington Post and, is effectively my boss, she wanted to draw attention to things that were going on in the world that don't get enough coverage at the traditional conventions. So she chose 3 different topics to look at: poverty, the drug war, as well as money and politics. And every day during the convention, not only were we covering the traditional conventions, but we also covered these different categories. So yesterday we were covering money and politics, and so this was sort of Gay Voice's entry into that and looking at, what celebrities are backing political campaigns. All of the celebrities that we had here were all backing the Democratic National Committee or Obama. And I'm not surprised. I think that, queer people in general are oftentimes very political or activists, and because we're still fighting to get a lot of our rights, we have to be intimately connected with what's going on in the political world, and we also have to be prepared to support the people who are trying to change things for us. So whether that means giving financial donations like in the slideshow that we have, or if that means, going door to door and talking to people, or even for celebrities, giving a interview where they sort of give their support to a certain politician, that seems, one, to be sort of second nature for LGBT people, and two, it also seems to me very important.
I think that one of the things, I'm a person living with HIV as well, and one of the things I like to say is that I like to honor when and how people decide to disclose their sexual orientation or their HIV status. But one of the things I like to hit home is I like to empower people to realize how much power they are withholding by not expressing their truth. And I really do believe that when you break it down objectively and scientifically, that to the extent that someone withholds their enlightenment about a different topic is to the extent that they somehow perpetuate the ignorance that exists about that topic. Do you agree? And if so, in what way? Do you disagree?
No, I definitely agree, and a couple things to that end. I actually recently wrote a blog post about growing up in Wisconsin and how literally torturous that experience was for me, and I shared a lot of very personal things about sort of my relationship with my peers and how that led me to, for at least 1 year of my life, be very suicidal. And it was something that I've actually never shared with almost anyone. And there were parts of it that no one knew about. And I wrote that blog because I totally agree with what you're just saying, in that I think the number one thing that changes people's minds about LGBT people is when we tell our stories. And I think it makes it a lot harder for someone to dislike us or to think that we're evil or deviant when, one, they get to know us, and they have a personal connection with us, and two, when we tell our story and we make it personal, and it's not just about this sort of faceless, nameless person who lives somewhere. And it's a lot harder to hate someone if you relate to them. So I think that the number one thing that LGBT people can do is to talk and tell their stories and not be ashamed of it. And the other thing, too, is that, coming out as LGBT or coming out as HIV positive is not something that happens once. For most people, you have to do it every day of your life. Every time you meet someone new, that the assumption is that you're heterosexual. Or that you're HIV negative or whatever. And so I think that, we have this sort of burden of always having to come out and always, saying, oh, no, that's not my friend, that's my husband. And I think it is sort of a burden in some ways, but I also think it's an opportunity, and I think that that's how we start to change people's opinions of us, and that's the sort of grassroots or ground level work that we can be doing, even if we're not a politician, even if we're not a celebrity, even if we're not the editor of Gay Voices. We all have the chance to just start talking to the people around us and letting them know what is going on in our lives, and how that can really be a very personal and very evocative moment.
Well, I became HIV positive in 2007 because I had a slip in my decades of safer sex behavior, and I ended up deciding to tell my story in Asia, where I was living at the time. And they're members of the HIV/AIDS international community that thought I was doing it to call attention to myself, and I got a lot of flack and had a difficult time building coalitions with people who were actively involved in fighting HIV/AIDS. But I ultimately reached millions of people around the world in 20 different languages by my commitment to telling my truth. And I think that for us to be most effective in life is to just stop caring what other people think about us, and to love and accept ourselves. And you were just referring to, I think the headline of the column you were talking about is sharing 3 of my deepest, darkest gay secrets for the first time to fight hate. Yeah. Well, you know, as someone who struggled with suicide related to your sexual identity, it must be particularly devastating for you to read about the youth that have succeeded in killing themselves in this hate that is in so many ways being perpetuated by the mainstream Republican Party.
Yeah, you know, it really is, and something about this job is that, you know, every day I come to work and I'm dealing with stories that are happening, and I would say 95% of the time it doesn't affect me, or I have a thick enough skin where it's okay, but there definitely have been days where, you know, one of those kids has committed suicide, or something else has happened, where I just go home and I feel pretty devastated, and it really does personally affect me. But then I also think about, you know, the work that we're doing, and it makes me feel, I guess, hopeful that things can change. But yeah, exactly. When you have these politicians and you have these groups that say things that not only are hateful, but also just create a culture of hate. That's why a lot of these kids do end up killing themselves, is because they don't think they have any other option, because the world that they are told that they live in is a world where they will never be allowed to be gay or trans or lesbian in a healthy way, and that they're always going to be pariahs. And so they don't think they have options. And that's because of what we hear on TV, what we hear on the radio, what we're told all the time. And so I just think that, like you were saying, that the more that we speak out and say this is not okay, and that, you know, the It Gets Better campaign, I think that there are some issues with it, but I do think in general, I like the idea of people talking and saying, I survived this, and this is something that is doable. I wish that there was something more than just, you know, if you wait 5 years or 8 years, it'll get better for you. I don't think that that's quite the solution, but I do like the idea of people talking about what they went through and starting this conversation. I think the more conversations we have, and that's the goal of Gay Voices, is the more that we're talking about these things, the more we can hopefully sort of overcome them or bring people to our side and gain some understanding.
One of the ways we get through the dark times is through art and artistic expression and creativity and music, and I'm guessing that your relationship to poetry has something to do with your painful past.
It really does. It's so true. When I was in 9th grade, that was my kind of my year of agony, and I didn't have any friends at all. I literally did not have a single friend, and so I would go during lunchtime and I would hide in the biology lab room. There was the biology teacher sort of took pity on me, and even though we never talked about it, she knew why I was in there. She knew why I couldn't go to lunch. And I would just read and write poetry. And, you know, a lot of it was sort of this maudlin, angsty teenage stuff, but it really gave me an outlet for these feelings, and I learned about so many different poets, and it changed my life in huge ways, and it changed the way that I look at the world. And so poetry definitely was a lifesaver in huge ways, and something that's always now has been a part of my life, and something that I look forward to reading. I write, and I think everyone should write, even if you're not publishing, even if you're not writing full poems. Or I just think that it's a way to process what's going on in your head and sort of have a release.
As we wrap up our interview, and I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to me, I'm wondering, who are your role models? Who are some of your role models, and why?
Wow, that's a great question. I guess, first and foremost, my mom. My mom is an incredible person. Maybe that's sort of a cliche gay guy's answer, but she's always been there. And, when I was in 8th grade, I think she was 42, she had raised my brother and me, and she was a substitute teacher and did a couple other things, but when she was 42, she went back to law school, and she got her law degree. And I've always thought about that it's never too late to sort of change your life and get the life that you want. And so I've always, when I think about, or even when I thought about when I was an intern when I was 29, and I thought, how can I be an intern? I'm so old. And I thought, no, my mom became a lawyer when she was 45, and that's incredible. So definitely my mom. And then I would even say, Mike Signorelli, who I hadn't worked with until he became editor-at-large with us in November of last year. But, he is a total inspiration to me. The work that he's done over the last 30 years, how fearless he's been, and sort of also just what a sweet guy he is. I love that package, and I aspire to be to have a career like his, and to sort of be as open to what life brings and what people offer as he has been, and hopefully able to make the same kind of changes and have the same kind of influence that he's made as well.
Well, you're also a role model to so many people by virtue of the life you're living and where it's brought you, and it reminds me of the saying that life is what happens to us while we're making other plans. And congratulations on your 1 year at Huffington Post Gay Voices. Do you know, do you have an idea of what you want year 2 to be like?
You know what I would love? I would love to, on the one hand, just to keep doing what we're doing, because we've just totally been knocking it out of the park, and I'm so proud of everyone on my team and what we've been doing. But I would love to make the site even more inclusive, getting even more people to tell their stories, especially, I'm always looking for people who are even on the fringes of the queer community. So I'm always looking for more people of color to tell their stories. I'm always looking for more trans people, and even people who are part of communities that maybe people don't always think of as LGBT, like the polyamorous people or asexual people. I think the more that we are, like we said, telling our stories, and the more people we can feature, the better. So that's goal for year number 2, is just to get even more people on the site, both reading and also sharing their stories.
Just a very quick lightning round. What's your favorite New York gay bar?
Oh, Nowhere Bar on 14th and 2nd.
Why?
It's just kind of a traditional dive bar. There's no attitude. There's no pomp and circumstance, and they have a really great jukebox, which always gets me.
I know you're in a relationship, but hypothetically, if you were single, Scruff versus Grindr?
Oh, wow. Grindr. I think Grindr, just because I don't know why. I'm going to go with Grindr, though.
Okay. Favorite vacation spot?
Ooh, good question. I've been going to Mexico for the last 3 years for Christmas with my family, and we just go to this little resort that's about an hour away from Cancun, and we do nothing except for eat guacamole and go swimming and read books, and it's been amazing. I'm going again this year, and I can't wait.
Okay, and without asking you to personally tell me what you're into, do you think without asking you to personally tell me what you're into, do you think that versatility among gay men is a choice, or that people are fundamentally top, bottom, or versatile inherently? I
love that question. That's so funny. I think the potential is there for people to be versatile, but I definitely think that we like our roles, you know?
Well, I frankly think there's only 2 tops in all of California, and I've yet to meet either one of them. I'm really trying to work on that. I don't know where they are. Sometimes they vacation in Palm Springs, but I just don't meet them. So
you know, they say the same thing about New York. Actually, they say New York is full of bottoms. So I don't know. Maybe they're in the Midwest.
Well, I say any gay man that describes himself as versatile is just a bottom that won't own it.
That's true. But we need to have more bottom pride, I think. I think you're totally right.
I'm a very proud bottom. I'm very proud of it. I don't have an issue with it. Okay, well, I've taken up enough of your time. Do you have any concluding remarks?
No, I want to say this is a total pleasure and very sweet of you. I guess I don't think of myself as a mover or a shaker or a role model. I just think that I feel really lucky to do the work that I get to do, and I'm honored to have people come to the site. And, you know, when I say that I love hearing from people, and if people have ideas or suggestions, or if people have an idea for a blog post, I really mean it when I say that people should get in touch with me. The email is gayvoices@HuffingtonPost.com, or otherwise my personal email is not that hard to find on the site too. So, you know, I want people to be involved, and I want them to make it their site as much as it is our site.
Well, the Gay Voices of the Huffington Post is a powerful worldwide chorus, and thank you for being the conductor.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This has been great. I really, really enjoyed it.
Well, my pleasure, and this interview will be available forever online. So think of it as a snapshot of the history of the moment.
I love that. That's great. Thanks, Nicholas.
Thanks, Noah. You have a great day.
You too. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Snowbiz Now with Nicholas Snow.
Small screen,
big queen, worldwide audience. It's not radio. It's Gadio.
Before I wrap up the show, I'd like to conclude with my own song, The Power to Be Strong, which is to promote HIV testing and safer sex. I want to give a shout out to Bruno Brugnano, who produced the song, Ayano Kimura, who sings beautiful backup for me, O Natapon, who directed the music video, which you may view and share subtitled in 20 languages at youtube.com/thepowertobestrong. Have you had your HIV test? Could there be a chance that you might be HIV positive?
light flames of desire. Take care of yourself, don't get burned by the fire. You're not alone, dance with me. Listen to the message of my song. Within you is the power to be strong. No matter who you are, no matter what you feel, this is your moment now, and your life is real. So play safely and live longer and be strong. Play safely and live longer and be strong. No matter who you are, no matter what you feel, this is your moment now, and your life is real. So play safely and live longer and be strong. Hear my song, life goes on. Get tested and live longer and be strong.
Snowbiz Now is brought to you by Nicholas Snow Productions. For everything you may wish to know about our company, to contact us about buying advertising or procuring our syndicated content, or to submit questions, comments, breaking news, or gossip, simply visit SnowbizNow.com. Once again, that's SnowbizNow.com. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the snowstorm. We're honored by your presence.